I know they say the Lord forgives all sins, even murder, but thanks to one man, my third eye has truly been opened to a very hard to swallow truth that there's one sin so unforgivable that it sends the person straight to hell. It's React content. There is no forgiveness for React streamers. Those vile vermin that watch YouTube videos on Twitch, they're all bad people, downright evil with no exception. I remember in Star Wars they said only a Sith deals in absolutes. Well, not this time. Yesterday, a YouTuber and streamer named Dark Viper AU posted a 14-page document, which is the script for a video he's working on, all about how evil React content is, and it really heats up. This gets wild and wacky for the touchdown real quick. There's a whole section in here where he basically compares reactors to sexual abuse criminals and insinuates that they'd be likely to spike your drink at a party, take silence for consent, basically is comparing React content creators to rapists. Completely unironically, it's not some edgy joke or anything, it's posting cringe on main that he truly believes and defends in the comments when someone called him out for it. He really doubles down, puts his nuts on the table and says, yeah, reactors are likely to commit sexual abuse. He says it's hyperbole, but only slightly so. The difference between actively ignoring consent for financial gain is not so far removed from ignoring consent for sexual gratification. In his own document, he admits that he himself was a reactor. He is engaged in a lot of React content himself. So at one point, were you a rapist, Dark Viper? Were you likely to commit sexual abuse? In fact, I'd argue you were on the upper echelon of React content because you were doing media share nights where your community donated money for you to watch videos, as opposed to just watching videos that you wanted to share with people and reacting to those. You had people pay you to do it, and then you made money on top of that from the videos you'd post from it. So you were a super reactor. Of course you don't do that anymore and you deleted all the videos, but at one point you did engage in the exact same content that you're coming out so heavily against right now, and then tried to make your own justifications for why you weren't the bad guy. It's an outrageous claim, obviously. However, he does make legitimate points in the document. It's overshadowed by this unhinged rant that he goes on. I am familiar with Dark Viper's content. In fact, I was a fan of Dark Viper. I'd seen his runs. I didn't really see too many of like his rant videos, but I did see his content from time to time, and he always struck me as someone pretty level-headed. In fact, recently, he made a video correcting something I talked about, which was how much money YouTubers make from short content. I got some of it wrong, and not on purpose, but I just didn't know what he knew. He was very knowledgeable in short content and made a whole video going over some very insightful stuff that was a learning experience for me and his audience. I thought it was a great video, very well done, and it was super disappointing to read something like this from him. Now, I'm called out by name multiple times throughout this document because obviously I do React content from time to time, 100%. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not trying to bury it in the past and hide it, pretend like I didn't, or try and justify it, because I'm not embarrassed of it. Look, I understand the stigma around React content, and I've always understood it. When I react to something, I'm constantly trying to either pause it and add something to it or interject comedy into it. I treat React content like Mystery Science Theater, where it is a transformative piece around the content. Now, of course, not every time is going to be a hit, which is why you'll find plenty of videos where I'm reacting to something like the downfall of Quibi, which comes from a great channel that I really like to watch, and I just got too engrossed in their storytelling and the way they presented it that I didn't add anything to it. So I ended up just kind of watching it with my community. Sure, and you know what? I didn't turn that into a video, I didn't do anything else with that. Ended up just really enjoying the video as it was presented without really being able to add too much to it. And yeah, I always feel guilty when something like that happens, but that's never the goal. Dark Viper's entire document here is about this belief that every reactor is doing it for financial gain and to fuck small channels. And the logic he uses to make these points is deeply flawed and isn't substantiated by any real evidence. It just feels like he pulls it out of his ass and it's source, trust me bro. He has an understanding of capitalism and the free market, and that's what he's using to base all of these claims on, even though it's not directly applicable to YouTube itself. So I just wanted to go over everything here right now. So even right away, his initial tweet going for the most extreme approach possible, all reactors are bad people, exploit others to benefit no one but themselves, collectively stolen millions of dollars from actual creators and have stopped countless thousands from having a career. I wonder how many small channels are out there shaking their fist right now like, damn you Pokimane, my channel died because you watched my video on your stream and said nice things about me. I had such a promising career as a YouTuber till you said nice things about my video on stream to your audience of 30,000 concurrent viewers. Now I'm fucking trashed. I'm ruined. And to be fair, that's not the exact point he's making. His point of how they're killing small channels is because they're taking eyes away from small channels to their own channel. So I guess a more apt comparison would be a small channel fucking flipping over their table like, fuck, I would have had 10 million views on this video if Pokimane didn't react to Jubilee, 6 atheists versus 1 Christian 5 days ago, and now my channel's fucked because she reacted and all the people went and watched that instead of watching my video essay on Dying Light's butthole physics. Now, to show his point in the actual document, he goes on to describe how effortless it is to make React content, which he is absolutely in the right on. This is an inarguable truth. It takes significantly less time and effort to react to content than it does to create the content that's being reacted to. That's just blasting your ass with facts and logic 100%. Even when you're transforming the content, like, you know, for example, if I'm adding an extra 10 minutes worth of dialogue or even 20 minutes worth of like extra commentary on top of it, that's still significantly less work than actually went into that video that creates it, and he's totally right there. He then goes on to say how easy it is to pump out that content since it obviously takes less time and effort. They can make more of it, which means more React videos are being pumped into the YouTube atmosphere, and he's right there again. Look at someone like Sniper Wolf. She's able to do one a day, and she's making, I think, 700 million views a month or something. She is the biggest React channel online, like anywhere on the internet. And what's shocking about Dark Viper's document is she's not listed here by name. He only goes with Twitch streamers, even though Sniper Wolf does the same thing. So I found that to be weird because that would have been another great point here. But regardless, her absence isn't that big of a deal. It just serves to highlight that he is right. You can pump this out a lot quicker than fully original products. But the next part is where him and I differ greatly in our opinion here, and it is an opinion no matter how much Dark Viper wants to present it as a fact. He argues that this flood of React content takes from the finite pool of impressions, so it takes those eyeballs and puts it towards the React content as opposed to going towards the original content that they would have found elsewhere if the React content didn't exist. I'm skipping ahead just a bit because this part is also still part of the same umbrella claim. He says, if your content is good, then it will get exposure naturally, and so you don't need reactors. He's absolutely right, of course you don't need reactors, but he says if your content is good, it will naturally get exposure. Okay, based on what? Where's your evidence to support that claim? There are millions upon millions of channels, literally millions, that have made high-quality productions over the last decade that went nowhere, fell flat on their face, have less than hundreds of views. I know that because we've watched them on my stream before. I usually like to find more obscure content, and I've seen some great videos, huge production, less than 100 views, like 5 years old, the channel's dead now. And it had nothing to do with XQC watching my mom picks my next boyfriend for me or anything. It just has to do with the sheer volume of content on YouTube in general, where not all great productions are gonna find eyeballs. It's just a fucking lie, him saying that it's gonna naturally get exposure. You have no way of proving that, and if you do, I'd love to see it. How can you guarantee that by making high-quality productions, you're naturally going to blow up on YouTube? How can you say that? Can you prove it? The pillar of his whole point is there's so much React content that now all of those eyeballs are on the reactors and not on the original content. They have taken away from this finite pool of impressions, but you have no way of proving if that React content wasn't there, those eyeballs would go to that original content. Because it's the internet, it's YouTube, there's other places they could go to get entertainment. Let's say all of a sudden all of React content is gone, the people that watch the React content might just go watch fucking Netflix, might just go on Twitch and watch some gaming streams or something. There's no guarantee that now that the React content's gone, those eyeballs turn towards the small YouTubers. You can't prove that. So the claim is completely baseless. I know you drew this diagram, but there's no source here. You're just pulling this out of your ass. I would love to know where you got this data from, if you have that available, because in this graph, if the React content that controls the 30% here pulls out, that 30% doesn't automatically get distributed to the rest of the graph. Those eyeballs could just be gone. They could go to a different platform. Take, for example, when Mixer acquired Ninja and Shroud, they came with absolutely massive audiences, and when they'd stream on Mixer, they'd have that full audience there. They were tuned in. But when they left, those eyeballs left. They didn't get redistributed to the rest of Mixer. They just went to a different platform because what they were there for was gone. So were they. It could be the same on YouTube. I'm not saying it is. There's no way for you to prove that if the React content wasn't there, all of those eyeballs that they are occupying of that finite pool of impressions would be redistributed to the smaller creators. You have no way of proving it. Nobody really does. However, off the top of my head, I can think of multiple examples in times where React content has genuinely helped smaller creators like blow up their channel. My channel, I'm the perfect example of it. My channel literally got kickstarted because of Ray William Johnson reacting to my QOP video in 2010. Without that happening, I probably wouldn't have this channel right now. I wouldn't be anywhere near the position I'm in right now if not for that reactor back then. So I'm the perfect example of that. Now, all cards on the table, I don't believe in exposure dollars. I don't believe by watching content there's a guaranteed viewer boost and all of a sudden that person's going to be a superstar and, you know, pay people in exposure. It's all legitimate. Like, hey, you know, I watched your video, so you can't be mad. No, I can truly understand when somebody doesn't like when someone reacts to their content. I get it. It's not like I'm fucking delusional. I understand it. And I totally sympathize when it's someone that doesn't add anything to it. And I'm guilty of it too. Like I mentioned, sometimes I just get lost in a great video and I end up just fucking sharing that video to the stream. Not on purpose. I planned on adding more to it, adding commentary, adding jokes to it, but sometimes I just get engrossed in it and I failed to deliver on my part of transforming it. I completely understand that perspective and agree with it. I get it. But I can, however, prove that multiple times channels I've reacted to have been very positive about it and their channel has grown exponentially as a result of it. I never like talking about these things because I never really like it to seem like I'm being, you know, so full of myself. Like I'm a benevolent fucking reactor and I save channels and blow them up. Because I don't believe in that. I really, truly don't. But I would like to give you a couple of examples of times where channels we've reacted to, very small channels, have been able to turn it into a full-time career and it has really helped them grow. So a couple popped into my head immediately. The first one obviously being the sausage god, Ordinary Sausage. This man could turn anything into a sausage. He could take King Tut's mummified remains and make a banger sausage out of it. In 2020, during a YouTube night, one person in stream who was a fan of sausage recommended his content, and at the time, as you can see in this video, he had 3,000 subscribers. And the content was so good, so high quality, it was super fun, and I felt I added quite a bit to it with comedy throughout it to transform it, so I turned it into a video, and through that video, his channel really started to grow because people really liked his content, they really liked him, so they went to his channel got a lot of steam, and fast forward to 2022, he is now at 655,000 subscribers, it's become like his full-time passion, and we've become good friends. We've collaborated quite a few times over the years, and it's just always been a great time working together, and it all stemmed from just a reaction to his content, and people that may not have otherwise found him, and then he was able to make a career out of it. There's a chance that maybe the algorithm would have picked up sausage making for some reason. Sure, you could make that argument. Maybe the channel would have been successful without the reaction, but it's inarguable that it did help because after posting this video, his channel was soaring, absolutely exploding. He got like 100,000 subs in a month or something from 3,000 on the ground. So there was a real benefit there, and of course this isn't the norm, but there is real positive impacts that do happen as a result of React content, and this is just a quick example. Another one that always pops into my head is slapping. Slap Fight Championship in particular, they were a small organization doing fun slapping content and really trying to take it to the next level, and I found them randomly during a YouTube night, and I loved it. Thought it was great. The creator of Slap Fight Championship, JT, reached out to me, was appreciative about it, and we became great friends and partners, working together to grow Slap Fight Championship into something fantastic. And fast forward to today, it's become the premier slapping league. It's recognized as like a legitimate sport. I don't know how much I can talk about, but I'm gonna maybe, you know, spoil the surprise a little bit maybe. A full-blown documentary coming out about Slap Fight Championship and all the incredible things going on over there, all stemming from just reacting to the content, which runs counter to what Dark Viper is saying in his document, where the reactors don't watch tiny content creators who can't catch a break. They find videos that are already doing well in the algorithm and are already successful, thus do not need their exposure. Reactors are not seeking out content to give it any sort of boost, seeking out content to bring themselves the maximum amount of profit for the least effort. So I just think this immediately runs against that, since the majority of content I watch and react to is small content like Ordinary Sausage, like Slap Fight Championship. Of course, sprinkled throughout there are some bigger content creators as well as organizations that I just appreciate the work of and think that they're fun. But the majority of it has always been the smaller creators. And of course, not always is that like reacting going to help them. In fact, I would argue that it's pretty rare for it too. But it is still against his point. I'm not reacting to things that are just going to bring the maximum amount of profit. That's not what I care about. I've never been a money-driven person, and to be put in this document where I'm compared to a fucking sexual abuse criminal, as well as just a money-hungry exploiter, he calls me an exploiter class, is outright disgusting. I'm watching these things and reacting to it because I think it's fun content that I can add to and have fun with and transform, so that way both the people who make the content would find it enjoyable, laugh with it, and have a good time, as well as the community that watched it with me. That is the drive for when I'm reacting to shit. He says that people only react to content that's doing well in the algorithm and that they were going to be successful on their own. Can you prove that to me, Dark Viper? Can you tell me that Ordinary Sausage before my reaction was going to be a 655,000 subscriber channel, closing in on 1 million? Dude's going to absolutely fucking crush it. Can you tell me that was 100% going to happen without me reacting to it? No. You can't. He wasn't in the algorithm at the time. There was just a fan who found him through, I think it was the Deep Into YouTube subreddit, if I remember correctly, and just thought it was fun content and shared it with me. It wasn't popping off in the algorithm. Neither was slapping. In fact, Slap Fight Championship has a huge problem with demonetization, and it never even makes it to the algorithm in the first place. I found it because I was already deep into the slapping rabbit hole and found it through that, not because it was going well in the algorithm. It's just, Dark Viper has a point that he can't possibly prove. There is no way he could accurately, with real evidence, show me that these channels were going to do extremely well without React content, or any channel for that matter is guaranteed exposure if they're making good content like he insinuates in his document. There's no way of proving that. However, I can show you examples, and this is only 2 of them, where React content wasn't dog shit and didn't hurt the channel that was being reacted to. Now, as I mentioned, I do fail sometimes where I just get too lost in the content where I didn't add anything to it, and I'm always embarrassed when that happens. I have a great example. There was a channel that I really enjoyed, and I watched their video on a dilapidated building that was for sale. It was a house, and it was one of the most confusing house tours of all time. It was this fucking labyrinth, a house of nightmares, and they had a great video going through all of it, and I watched it on stream. I'd already seen it before I watched it on stream as well, because I just wanted to show people and talk about it and like get really goofy with it and figure out what was going on with this house. But I ended up just getting too lost in the video because they presented it so well, and it was just such a great video. And the creator saw my reaction to it and was really disappointed. They didn't appreciate it, and I totally understood where they're coming from because I didn't really add anything to it. I didn't really react to it. So to them, it felt like I was just re-uploading their content on my stream. And I get that perspective, I really do, but that's never the goal. It's never supposed to be piggybacking off of someone else's hard work in order to do nothing for it and make money off it. I've never had that mentality, and I never will. And I really fucking hate that this whole document paints me in that light. It's just so disingenuous. And Dark Viper, I know you watched my content for a long time. Like I said, I know your channel. I used to see you talk about my shit. I remember you were critiquing my audio at one point because I used to have that low hum on my audio settings, and I remember you pointed it out in a video a long time ago. You used to watch my shit, and I have always reacted to content even since 2016. So you knew I was doing all of that, and you still enjoyed the content. Now all of a sudden you're coming in here and putting me on the same level as a fucking rapist, man. It's absolutely outrageous. There's still so many things I could point out in this document that are just blatantly wrong, such as this claim at the bottom. They will of course then upload this stolen content to their YouTube channels as well as further maximize profits that would otherwise again go to actual content creators. Hey, can I get a source on that? Can I get a prove that, buddy, please? Each of these creators earns on average $20 million a year on the back of unpaid writers and content creators. Hey, can I get a source on that one as well? Where the fuck is my 20 mil a year? What an outrageous number to pull right from your fucking dickhole there. 20 million a year, is that really what you think I make on YouTube, Dark Viper? Holy shit, your CPM must be crazy to think that I would make 20 mil in a year. Bro, half of my content has a giant fucking dildo in it that's 3 feet long. You really think I'm somehow making 20 million a year? I can't speak for Hassan, Pokimane, or XQC or anyone there, but I can tell you that just making this claim on average 20 mil a year is just so blatantly fucking wrong, it's laughable. And again, can I please get a source on the maximized profits that would otherwise again go to actual content creators? Can you prove that? Fuck man, that'd be glorious. That average of 20 mil a year somehow going to the smaller content creators that would be unassociated with the React content. All of a sudden, somehow that 20 mil is making it to them? Fuck, I'd love to see the osmosis process there somehow. So you're telling me if that React content is gone, all that 20 mil is now in a limbo just waiting for these small content creators all of a sudden? Even if there's no crossover with the React content? That's incredible. Would love to just see the data here that you undoubtedly have to back up these claims. And especially on the 20 mil a year, because if that's true, man, I'm getting fucking ripped off. I'm not even close. I'm gonna need to talk to somebody at YouTube because you've probably got the numbers right and YouTube's wrong, man. Another thing I'd like to point out is every time this whole React content debate comes up, the people that take the most offense to it and make the biggest stink about it are the people that aren't having a problem with people reacting to their content. I don't think there's this huge epidemic of people, you know, dressing in a black tank top and trying to steal Dark Viper AU's content by reacting to it minimally on stream or something. He's not really battling a bunch of reactors, at least not that I know of, maybe I'm wrong, But the people that do have their content reacted to, like the smaller channels and even some of the bigger channels, usually have a really positive response to it. They'll reach out and say thank you, or like, hey, glad you enjoyed the video, would love to talk about it maybe a little bit more. A lot of the friends I've made online have actually just come from me appreciating their content and reacting to it and talking about their content afterwards as a result of it. Like, it's always a weird dichotomy where the people that are the maddest are the ones that aren't even directly involved in the problem that they're talking about. Of course, that doesn't go for every channel, and that's totally fine, but in my experience and the experience of a lot of friends that I know that have also reacted to content, the majority of it's always been a really positive relationship between the creator that was reacted to and the person that was reacting to it. Because for me, what happens is it shows I like this person's content, I like what they're doing, and then now they know, hey, we have something in common, maybe we could be friends, maybe we could talk more, and it usually just leads to collaborations and getting to know each other, all through just being appreciative of their content and being so happy about it to share it with others. Not everyone is in YouTube or online content creation for the maximum amount of money. Maybe it's different with Dark Viper, and that's why he's always so fixated on the money aspect of things, but for some content creators, even the small ones, they just like to see people enjoying their content from time to time. And to be exposed to a bigger audience like a fucking XQC watching your fan animation, they get excited. Even if it's like, hey, that's 70,000 people watching your content on XQC stream instead of yours, well, those 70,000 people may never have found that small channel in the first place, and now maybe some of them do go over there, and he mentions that as like trickle-down reactonomics or some shit like that. But for a lot of people, that is a net positive thing, where there could have been no one that ever found it in the first place. I don't think it's a really strong argument or anything, but it is still something worth noting. It's a real thing that does happen, as opposed to Dark Viper's claims of average of 20 million a year with these money-hungry sexual abusers. Like, at least with some of these things that, yeah, maybe I don't agree with all of them, and they're pretty weak points, like the, exposure dollar thing helping every channel. I don't always agree with that, but you can prove on a case-by-case basis it does. Whereas in Viper's case, he doesn't present any real evidence for these claims. At least not that I saw in this document. Maybe he has some in the back burner. But nothing he proves shows that the reaction, like the reactors and their content, are taking eyeballs away from other content creators online that have nothing to do with that space. Like, there's nothing that shows me that he is correct, that if these reactors were gone, small channels would be flourishing right now. Him saying with a straight face that if you make good content, you will naturally get exposure is just silly. That's so naive. It's just not the reality of it. You can make the best content in the world and it could go nowhere if the algorithm doesn't pick it up, or if you just don't get lucky, you're in at the bad time. Like, there's so many factors. You are not guaranteed exposure just for making good content, and that's what Dark Viper seems to want you to believe in his document. Again, there was nothing in there that showed me that those eyeballs that are occupying React content would then switch to non-React content if it was gone. Yes, there is a finite amount of impressions that can go around. Nothing is infinite. And yes, some of those are on the React content, but if it wasn't there, that's not saying that they are all of a sudden going to the other content elsewhere. There is nothing that he has presented in this document that shows that. But on the other side of this coin, you can show that there are the cases where React content help channels blow up, maintain an audience. Even with his trickle-down reactonomics that he seems to hate so much, you can at least prove that that exists. Because some of the channels that XQC has reacted to, those channels have maintained like an audience from XQC. It's not, of course, the full 70,000, maybe only a fraction of that, but it's still more than they had pre that reaction. So it's given them some kind of extra steam, even if it's not great, that they might not have had otherwise. Maybe they would have. Again, you can't prove that, Dark Viper, and no one can, but it is inarguable that they did get a little extra audience that has now stuck around. They now have a juicer fan base that is stuck around because they enjoyed what they saw when they watched it with XQC, and some of those channels do have more of an audience now. You can prove it. So yeah, this document was really upsetting to read, especially as someone that does know Dark Viper's content. And again, he bases every single one of his claims off no real evidence, just his understanding of the market and capitalism, but it doesn't apply to YouTube. If his graph is right, let's just assume he got everything right. React content has 30% of the eyes while everything else is getting scraps. If that 30% is gone, there is no guarantee that that 30% that is now gone from the React channels goes to the other creators because they could just go somewhere else or turn off the computer and go do something else. It's not exactly like the market when it comes to just watching fucking videos. They might be there for Pokimane reacts, and when Pokimane stops reacting, they don't go watch anything else. They just go do something else off of YouTube. It just doesn't apply. But maybe Dark Viper has this incredible data that just throws everything for a loop that just wasn't in this document, and I would love to see it. But regardless of whatever data he has, this is a truly disgusting thing to do at the end of it, where he claims that reactors are on the same level as a sexual abuse criminal who would spike someone's drink and whatever other disgusting shit he said, and all reactors are bad people. Fucking silly. That's about it. See ya.